Guys, gals, and non-binary pals. My name is Vincent, but I go by Doogley the Duke, Doogley on the internet, but for team purposes I go by THG Doogley. And I've been meaning to make this video. I wanted to make this video for Milwaukee, but I finally developed I don't know, what do you want to call it, the wherewithal, the interest in making maybe a little bit of a retrospective video for DLC Richmond. A little bit of history about myself. I've been playing card games. I will say about half my lifetime. I started with Yu-Gi-Oh in high school, and would go to locals, would go to regionals in my area, and then I eventually quit out of that game. Maybe in like mid-college, something like that, and I played a lot of Hearthstone growing up, high school, college, that type of thing. But only got back into Lorcana in set 5. As a way to get my girlfriend into card gaming potentially. But because she's a Disney head, but she, wasn't really as much into the card game aspect of it, and I just like hook, line, and sinker. So I've been playing Lorcana since at 5, and just slowly looking to improve, be a better player. And just had started being able to go to premier Disney Lorcana competitive events, starting with DLC Milwaukee. As I joined Tragic Hero Gaming starting in mid 2025, just about summertime. So, but I wanted to make this video to just talk about my experiences at DLC Richmond, my experiences as, wanting to get better. I'll go with my, I'll explain my deck lists, the breakdown of it, why I decided to play it, my rounds, and just, some retrospective thoughts on what I thought I did good, what I thought I did bad, what I could improve upon, what I thought I improved on for the event. And, maybe, the layperson watches this and gets something out of it. But just been interested in content creation for a long time. Made some TikToks and Instagram videos for team pages, and I'll link those down in the description if you're so inclined to give us a follow, a like, what have you. But yeah, why don't we just get started? And I will post my deck list, wrong hand, up here somewhere, or maybe, I don't know, I'll get it figured out during editing. So I decided to bring Blurple for the event, Amethyst Sapphire, BP, whatever you want to call it. And I brought a fairly stock list, I would say. The big changes, I'd say, are no Iagos, and I added in 2 Bells, 2 Bell 5s into the mix. I decided not to play Iagos this event because I felt like there was a lot of targeted removal that Iago is very susceptible to, and whether that's Strength of a Raging Fire, I saw Fire the Cannons this weekend, I saw Improvises this weekend, and felt that it was just too liable to get blown up, especially if it's your only turn 4 play and they blow it up, and you kind of just like lost so much tempo at that point that you kind of already could see the writing on the wall, more often than not. And I decided to play Bell 5, 2 copies of Bell 5. The deck had been on it for as long as I've been playing it, since 6. And I felt that I wanted a little bit of extra reach into killing, Dumbos, Yzmas, maybe make trading a little bit easier into certain matchups like Purple Steel and things like that. And yeah, I'm not felt pretty comfortable with the list. Maybe I would have, in hindsight, maybe I just shouldn't have played the Bells and just played 2 Iagos or something like that instead. But overall, I was fairly comfortable with the list and bringing in it. And in hindsight, I think either way, the deck list was pretty fine. So going through the matchups, the breakdown, whatnot. Played 7 rounds. I unfortunately died at sorry, a little bit too strong language. My run ended at round 7, and unfortunately I could not make day 2. 2 of my teammates, shout out THG Shiz and THG Midge, to making day 2. 2 incredibly strong players, 2 players and 2 teammates and friends that I really look up to as card players and as friends and as just fellow peers who play cards. I have a lot to learn from and continue to learn from them, and I will continue to do so. But either way, Yep, played 7 rounds. I went 4-3. Played no dogs over the weekend, which was a nice at least. But yeah, let's just talk about it. So round 1, I played blue purple mirror 2-0. Game 2, I missed ramp. I was on the play. I was on the play for 2 of my 7 rounds. So I took better notes this time around from compared to Milwaukee, and I guess I lost 5 of my 7 die rolls. Who'd have thought? Um, so round 1, I played a mirror, 2-0'd them on the play. Sorry. And game 2, I missed ramp. But I feel like playing Cheshire Cat, and not with the advent of Cheshire Cat and Whispers of the Well. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, I just don't remember. But I feel like with the advent of Cheshire Cat into the mix, it really does help your hands that don't have ramp in it. Oftentimes I found myself multiple times this event, I sent 7 back to find ramp. And thankfully I only missed ramp once throughout the day, and this was the only time. But it really did help me to kind of bridge that gap if I miss ramp. So game 2 of that match, I went, Basil, guidebook, cat, and I was thankfully turn 4. I had played, I think, a genie, something like that, and then my opponent responded with a Iago, and thankfully I was just able to go, I think something along the lines of like hypnotic strength, another cat, and it was kind of just game over from there. Round 2, I played another mirror. I was on the play again, and I went 2-1. Nothing super noticeable in that match. Being able to play hypnotic strength again on an opponent's Iago felt really good. Being able to blow up their Iago is just such a massive tempo swing, I guess you'd call it. For you, obviously, in your favor. But incredibly nice opponent. Shout out Lorcana Man for giving me a cool little token and a sticker. Great opponent. And yeah, round 3. I had played my first purple seal of the day, and unfortunately I had gone 1-2 on the draw. He was playing Timothy Q Mouse. He was playing Fire the Cannons. Took me by surprise and just not crashed and burned, but I just couldn't get a good enough foothold to get rid of that the Timothy Mouse and stuff like that. Game 3, I had made a very critical error, and one of the things I'll go over maybe towards the end of the video is just the importance of playing slow and playing intentionally and really watching what you're doing, because I had Madam Elephant on the field with 2 damage on it, or 2 or 1 damage, something like that, and I could have moved it onto his Steel Genie, the 3/4 that has evasive on your turn, and I didn't move it, and I drew my card, and I went, oh, gotta do this, and he said, nah, and I had to just take it on the chin. That's just what it is. Big oopsie on my part. I think it really would have affected the outcome of the game. Maybe could have even won it. But yeah, so that was my round 3. Very unfortunate. Round 4, I had played against green blue, and I was on the draw again, and I managed to 2-0 them. Green blue felt, oftentimes it's considered an unfavorable matchup for Blurple, just because of the board wipe and combo and stuff like that. But fortunately, my opponent did not hit. My opponent never went turn 1 Clarabelle, baby Clarabelle into Chef Clarabelle, you're welcome, or hit the Prince Philip combo even. So I was very fortunate for that. And I feel like maybe this is my own personal interpretation. I could be wrong, but the matchup feels like a mixture of red, blue, and Steel Song pre-rotation. Simply because you want to be able to manage your board in such a way that you're not just overextending and leaving yourself set up for the Prince Philip combo, and being able to keep your hand a manageable size, so Clarabelle doesn't get enough value out of it. Similar like how in Steel Song pre-rotation, you want to leave your hand low, so if they wheel you, you get value out of it instead of getting a full grip ripped out. And same thing with red blue, where you overextend on the board and they go B prep manner. So maybe that's wrong, but that's how I interpret it. And yeah, just a 2-0 felt good. So round 5, I played against another purple steel. Very, very good player, very well fought matches. Game 1, he just like, I get whopped. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4 strength, go next. And then game 2, we thankfully I just have a lot of answers in my hand. I drew a Hades that I kept in my hand for a couple turns. Hades 7, and went like Hades 7, Hades 5, Bell, another Hades 7, and just like kind of was able to stabilize from there. Game 3, very unfortunately, my opponent just like kind of bricks for the most part. Draws like triple giant cobra, can't discard anything out of his hand to get lore or anything like that. Draws like 2 steel Jafars, the 3/2 evasive on your turn. And he just like, I was able to stabilize fast enough and just went out. And here's where I crash and burn. So round 6, I play against a mirror and I make a lot of unfavorable trades. I make just bad trades. I quested haphazardly, just bad questing habits. Something that I noticed that we'll also talk about towards the end of the video is that I experienced a lot of mental fatigue, a lot of exhaustion. I didn't really eat as much as I should have throughout the day. And I could just like feel that mental fog. So by the end of that match, it was just a swift 0-2, and I just, crashed and burned in that moment. And then round 7, I play against a yellow-purple deck, which is also another thing I will talk about coming up, is I should have practiced more. Because I really have minimal experience into yellow-purple. I know the yellow-purple, mid-range. I didn't play against the combo. It was just mid-range monster combo. I didn't play against that. I played against yellow-purple mid-range. And he just, had the Elan, did a bunch of things that I knew that the deck could do, but I just wasn't super clear on how to manage that properly. So, just like shoving out lanterns on the field, being able to play a lot of the characters that I would play, but for much cheaper and much faster on a much more consistent basis. And he kind of just steamrolls me, and from there, that's the end of my run. So, in a retrospective sense, what do I feel like I did correctly in this event? I think I made mostly correct inking decisions. There weren't times where I felt like I had inked something turn 1 and been like, really would have liked that on turn 5 or turn 6. A lot of the times, if I was on, the draw, or when I was on the play, I'd be inking my 1-drops. When I didn't know the matchup, I'd be inking, cards that are typically good on the play, or, in top deck mode. So maybe I shouldn't have inked a Hades 5 here and there. But it felt, for the most part, pretty inconsequential to my run. But maybe it did. Who knows? So I felt like I did that pretty correctly, and I think I did some proper trading for the most part. I knew it was really important to leave your 1-cost Basil up for, to make trading in the evasive war a little bit easier. I held on to my hypnotic strengths a lot, considering that a lot of the field was going to be purple steel or blue purple. Even just to trade up very effectively, to kill, like, I don't know, if I had to kill like a Clara, like a big Clarabelle. I don't think I really ever did that too often, but it just I felt like I improved upon my trading skills and being able to do more cost-effective trades during my matches. But what did I feel like I did wrong, particularly in this event? I think a big thing that, obviously, I think we talk about it, but I think maybe sometimes we need to place a little bit more emphasis on it, is taking care of yourself for this event. This is a massive event. This is a 2,000 person event. I think I was on Inktex and I saw it was actually like 2,052 people. Maybe I'm wrong, but somewhere close to 2K. This is saying it's stiff competition might be underplaying it a little bit, but this is a massive event with a lot of high level players. A lot of a teammate of mine played against Ed, like it beat Ed, which is a massive accomplishment. To beat, you know, a world's contender is a huge feat unto its own. But I felt like I didn't get enough sleep the night before. I felt like I didn't eat enough the night before, even, to like fuel my body for the morning. I didn't really eat not like a huge breakfast, but like, I had like like a granola bar or something like that. Maybe when I should have had like a bagel, or I don't know, some just more sustenance for your body. And I didn't drink enough water. I felt like throughout the event, I drank water, but maybe I should have drank more. I didn't keep myself fueled throughout the event. My very lovely girlfriend had brought me snacks and stuff like that. But instead of being like, nah, I can, it's too late before I can eat my food, before the next round starts, I should have just bought that $15 chicken tenders and fries, and considered it like an investment cost for the event. So taking care of your body is so critical to engaging in obviously any brain activity, obviously sports, things that require mental exertion, things like that. So a particular lesson learned for me. And honestly, and also I made some obviously some improper trading towards the end of the event, which kind of maybe goes hand in hand with the mental fatigue, the brain fog of just not eating enough. So I made a lot of just like silly mistakes, dumb things that I did that I wish I'd just taken care of my body better. And truthfully, I felt like I didn't practice enough for this event. I have been playing card games for a long time, between Yu-Gi-Oh, Hearthstone, things like that. I played like Force of Will when it was a popular thing for like 6 months, sometime in the late 2010s. But that doesn't excuse the fact that you need to be practicing and that you need to be playing, whether that's at your locals events, at, 1Ks, 5Ks, 10Ks, even on the website that shall not be named. You need to be playing, you need to be practicing on a consistent event if you want to do well at an event of this caliber. And I felt like I had taken my own knowledge and game skill for granted. I've been on Blurple for a very long time. I know how to play the deck, the ins and the outs, what I want to do, what I mostly don't want to be doing. But it still, like I said, does not excuse the fact that I just didn't practice enough. And it really was shown in my round 7, where I didn't really know super well how to play against Yellow Purple. So that's something that I wish I had just done a little bit differently. And finally, the things that I want to improve on in the future, I want to be practicing more, getting those couple games in at night on the website that shall not be named, is probably important going forward. Like just jamming, even if it's just best of one, just jamming best of ones, getting a couple ones in. It's best to be doing best of threes. I think that's the most important, and that's where a lot of the skill comes in. I want to be able to improve my mulligan style, not style, my mulligan skills. Mulliganing in this game is probably the strongest thing you can do, and mulliganing correctly is so critical, especially when you know what you're playing. And even blind, it is super important to be finding the things you want to be finding, and mulling for the things that you want to be playing on curve or whatever. And obviously, with Blurple, it's if you don't see ramp, you just send back mostly a full 7. If you don't know where you're playing, maybe you can keep a 1 drop, but for the most part, you're likely just sending 7 back just to look for ramp. And honestly, asking more questions. I think in retrospect, I should have been asking more questions within, the communities I engage with. Like I very much so going forward, I would like to be more participative in communities like the Flower Farm. And, thanks to JDRR for, being such a big pillar of the blue, purple, and purple steel community, and to, share these builds and to help players and coach them. I'm in that community and I did not utilize it enough. I felt like I should have been asking more questions, even if they sound stupid. Like, just ask them. Like, it doesn't matter if it's to your benefit. Who cares? And even asking my teammates, you know, like asking them, hey, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? What shouldn't I be doing? You know, is this a dumb idea? Should I be playing this card? No, that card sucks. Okay, moving on. You know, it's so critical to be asking questions and not to let, you know, whether you want to consider it pride or embarrassment or shame, guilt, whatever, like just ask questions. You know, you're not going to get better at the game that you know, you love or care about if you don't ask questions. And I think that's pretty much it. You know, I really felt that I had an amazing time this weekend, regardless of how I did. You know, playing Pack Crush is a ton of fun. Drafting is a ton of fun. Doing the collection quest was awesome. I got the Let It Go promo, so that was some tickets I didn't have to spend, and I was able to spend them on the Elsa Ice Maker promo. A couple of my friends got the mats. It was awesome. And honestly, this community is amazing, quite frankly. I know, you know, throughout the course of me being engaged in this game, you know, we've talked about some bad actors, cheaters, whatnot, but all of my opponents in Milwaukee and in Richmond have been nothing but amazing, nothing but phenomenal, nothing but super friendly. And I'm glad to be a part of a community that has, you know, done so much for me in terms of socializing, community-based things. I think it's such an important thing to be a part of, and maybe I'll make a video on that in the future, because I'm interested in content creation, so maybe I'll continue more of these style of videos. If you saw my cats running around, great, they'll be around. Hopefully I'd like to be around more. And yeah, I think I'll wrap it up there. So everybody, once again, guys, gals, non-binary pals, this is Vincent, otherwise known as THG Doogley. Thanks for watching. You know, whatever the YouTubers say, like, comment, subscribe. I don't think hit that bell exists anymore, but if it does, hit the bell, whatever. Thank you, everybody, and until next time.